Welcome to Unruly by Nature, episode 23. I am here with my good friends, Rachel Knott and Sue Mimm, and I am Kim Howatt. And per usual today, we're going to start with a question. But first, I just want to remind you that if you like what we do, like, subscribe, share. And with that, let's get to it, ladies. I have a question for you. Actually, it's not even a question. I want to hear a story. I would like to hear a story about something that's interesting that you observed, interacted with, or saw in nature in the last 2 weeks since we've seen each other. Who would like to go first?
Go on, Rachel.
Okay. I'm going to start with a story that just happened in the last couple of days. I was walking back from the beach, my favorite place to be at the moment, with my girlfriend, and we were walking through the undercliff, which goes under the road. And on the undercliff, there are pictures of different sea creatures that are local to our coastline. And so that sparked, or as I thought, a thought. And I was like, oh, do you know what the coolest animal in the whole wide world is? It's a praying mantis. And my girlfriend's like, I've never heard you say that before. That's a bit random. Anyway, I was just like, oh, they're so cool. They're really, really cool. And then the next day, she said, have you seen this news article? And she showed me on her phone that this girl, 5-year-old girl, had been walking the same undercliff on the same day, but it was in the newspaper the next day, and she'd found a praying mantis. And I'm like, so I hadn't consciously seen it, but obviously there was an energy awareness at some point of this praying mantis coming through. And I'm like, that's so damn cool. Because they're not native. As far as I'm aware, praying mantises are not native to near Brighton. It's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. So whether he's escaped from a home or whether with a change in the climate, I don't know, there's been an influx of praying mantis. I don't know. I woke up with a caterpillar on my arm the other morning, so I'm definitely calling in the insect energy. But that to me is just not random. Out of all the beings that I could have said are the coolest in the world, he happened to be in the same spot.
Like very dramatic. Tell my story. Rachel, you're a communicator. You must tell my story to the world.
Well, like that, though, isn't it?
It is.
Tell my story.
They don't have.
Do you know my hubby got bitten by one?
What?
Bitten, not punched.
Yeah, no, he was. I mean, in South Africa, we used to get quite a lot of them, and the big ones, the really big praying mantises. And we were like watching him and talking to him. He lived in our garden. We saw him quite often. And the one day he was quite close to the sort of dining area where we were eating outside. My husband was talking to him, being very nice and very kind, sort of put his finger out to say, do you want to come onto my finger? And he got bitten. He got such a fright. Everyone screamed because he jumped back and screamed. And we're like, you don't expect to be bitten by a praying mantis.
No. I guess maybe he should have used his best dog etiquette and let the praying mantis come to him.
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy.
So cool. That's so cool.
Never thought about them biting. They always just kind of sit all proud on their...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen them, like, yeah, as you say, do the whole little, thing with their front legs, and they can look quite scary when they look, from side to side at you. But yeah, when nobody was expecting that.
I mean, that's got to go on his obituary, hasn't it? Bit by a praying
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a support group
my
somewhere.
little story. So my little story, I think the one that wants to be told by me, it's a very small little story, nothing fancy, but I think it was quite interesting because it just was so out of place. So we've had very little rain, as most people have in the last while, but we did have a big storm a couple of nights ago. And the next day I was walking my usual walk, and what reminded me of it, Rachel, is because you said you went through the under cliff, as you call it. We go under the railway. There's a passageway for pedestrians to go up through to the river. And we were on our way to that way for a walk, and I noticed there was a big puddle at the bottom of this dip going through. And I've never seen really a big puddle like that. I mean, from time to time it rains, but there's storm water drains there and it normally just washes away. And I thought that was strange. And then as I looked at it, I could see it looked like a leaf sitting right on the edge of the water. And if there's one thing I am scared of, it's frogs. I don't do frogs. And I thought, I wonder if there could be a frog. And I thought, no, what on earth would a frog be doing, in the middle of nowhere on a pedestrian no, it's impossible. It's just a leaf sitting there. And as I got closer, this leaf jumped into the water and started swimming across the big puddle. And I was like, oh my God, now how do I cross this puddle? There's a frog in it. And Charlie looked at me like I'm stark raving mad. He just walks through the puddle, and I'm like just about creeping up the wall to get. It's a tiny little frog. I mean, it's just swimming breaststroke through the little puddle. But it is weird. And then as it was so strange because as we got to the top, and there was another lady coming with her 2 dogs, and I just turned back to watch what she would do. And of course, she's obviously not scared of frogs, so she just goes to the side. But it was so funny to see her and her poodle. This little poodle also did what I did, literally climb up the wall to get over. And the bigger dog just went splash, splash, splash through the middle. And it just shows you that it's like, some people were like, I don't know, scared of snakes or whatever. I'm not really scared of snakes, but don't give me a frog. Especially one that's in the middle of my pathway, swimming in a puddle.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you don't need a frog because you've got your print.
Yeah. I was thinking
Maybe
the same
you
thing.
had that. Well, what is it? Is it the Frog Prince? Is the fairy tale?
Yes.
Yeah, the Frog
Got to
Prince.
kiss a lot of frogs
Yeah.
before you get your prince. Fairy tales have got a lot to answer for, haven't they?
They do. They do. Oh my gosh, that's a
That's
great story. I'm just like fascinated by the fear of frogs.
I know.
Isn't it
I
strange?
know.
Is that
so
an adult
cute.
fear or a child fear?
It's a child fear because I think it started. I remember when well, it's not that young. I was definitely, I think, early high school. I think, and we had used to live in a beautiful thatched cottage, and it was in a part of what the province is called KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. And it's a very lush sort of part of the world, and there are lots of frogs there. But we lived on this beautiful little property, and it had a pond. And I remember in the night, I would get up to go to the toilet, and these little frogs would sometimes make their way under the door and come hopping down the passage.
Wow.
And it was always me, you sort of between me and the toilet, and I couldn't get there because I was scared I was going to stand on one of these frogs or something. So ever since then, it's just like they like come towards me. Like fear draws in creatures and draws in things.
Oh yeah.
I feel like they're drawn to me.
Wow.
I mean, what do? They just hop.
And they eat flies and things.
And they eat flies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They've got big bug eyes, haven't they? They've got big bug eyes, and they're like a lot of body and a little leg. I don't know.
Yeah. They make cool sounds.
Well, they got those huge big back legs that they sort of swim with and use to jump.
Our dogs like to boop them and make them jump. Like when it rains, they get up on our patio and they like to just boop them.
Ah,
frog envy. I need to create a pond. That's
yes,
cute.
Inadvertent ponds in the spring.
What about you, Kim?
I'm just going to start this by saying that I have normal fears. I'm terrified of spiders. I'm not terrified of frogs, but I am terrified of spiders. So it seems to be a family trait, and I'm the same. I get so many spiders crawling on me. I had one last week. And I'm like, you can live in my corners, you can live in the closet, like just don't get on me.
Mm-hmm.
Just that's it. So, but my story is actually so wild because it was so simple. It's such a simple thing that I think a couple years ago I wouldn't have even noticed. And I was sitting outside. The dogs were roaming around. And on our patio, I mean, we have a garden like with herbs, Aesop, St. John's wort, lavender, lemon balm. It's strawberries, blackberry. I mean, there's like 15 or 20 different kinds of plants growing there. And I was just sitting there with my face in the sun, just in a little bit of a meditation. And I heard this weird sound. It sounded like a bee, but like bassier. And so I open my eyes and there's a hummingbird, like within probably a foot of my face, like just hovering there. And it was so awesome. And I'm like watching it and just, I started to talk to it and I'm like, man, how do you do that? You're so athletic. And like right then it went over the top of our house so fast just to show off, I think. And so I'm like, that was so cool. And then like 2 days later, I was sitting out and I had my face in the sun and I heard the buzzing and I opened it and it was the same hummingbird.
Wow.
And it went over and I'm like, you're back again. And it went over and it like literally like did its work on like 2 flower plants in like 30 seconds. And then it came back over and looked at me and then flew down the fence line and was gone. It happened 3 times that week.
Wow.
And it was just like, I mean, I don't even know what, it doesn't have to mean anything more than that, right? It was just this wild experience, like finding a frog in a puddle that's never there, or finding a praying mantis that shouldn't be in where you live. I mean, and we see the hummingbird every now and again, like through our kitchen window, but I never thought it would engage. Like it was curious about me, and you could tell that there was mutual curiosity, and it was really cool.
That is cool. That mutual curiosity, I think, is, yeah, pretty awesome.
I want to add something there because it just as you're expressing that about the hummingbird and saying it doesn't have to mean anything, we're just witnessing something, and I'm totally with you there. Like we don't have to like
Give
look
it a
deep into anything,
meaning
but and we can, or we just experience it. But just before we jumped on the call, Max and I were just sat in the back of our property, and the back fence is quite close to the property. And Darcy was laying out there, and we were just chit chatting. And I was saying, she'd taken Darcy to a local field, and she said she kind of ran very briefly and then just plodding around. And I said, I feel like she's at a different stage of life now. She's 4.5, and she doesn't seem to have that desire to have those huge bursts of exercise anyway. Just as I said that, this squirrel runs along the back fence, which gets Darcy so high, and she's spinning around trying to chase this squirrel that then jumps onto the roof. And I was just like, okay, that's not a truth. Okay, it was just when we think, oh, this is it, we're at this stage now, and then boom, in comes squirrel energy.
and that's just the thing. I think when you sit back and just observe, there's so, like, how many other critters out there are curious about you and we don't even see it.
Yeah.
I mean, some are obvious, I guess. We have a fox that live in our yard, and the dogs like to play chase with the fox. And I took a couple of dog toys out for the fox a few weeks ago, and one's just gone. They took it. And the other one, it's like, it's fun every day to wake up and see where in the yard will it be. Can we see it? Or do I go out on a walk and you find it? And they totally play with it. It's so wild. So it's like how many creatures are kind of spying on us. Like we think we're the ones that are observing.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I actually have been thinking about that. At some later stage, I will tell you about some other little projects I'm working on. But it's in that project, that's part of it. It's, we quick to jump to, like, what does that mean? Or, what must I read about that? Or let me go and read up about what their spiritual message is, or something like that. But what if we were just in relationship with them in that moment? So just fully connecting and just like you said, simply observing with no specific, the meaning will be there, but we don't have to go and seek it, is what I'm saying. It's just in that if we just fully present and in relationship with that creature or that, that moment, that's more than enough wisdom in there. We don't have to go and seek answers in there or clarification or special divine messages. I think it's already there for us if we just are in that moment and very present. And like the way you were describing the hummingbird, Kim, I could actually picture it. I could imagine it, and that itself is just, as you were imagining, and you said like how athletic it was and how quick it was. It's that's what you are witnessing. You're witnessing its beingness, not just some, oh, well, I saw this and so it means that. You're witnessing the being and you're connecting with the being in that moment. That's the experience.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
cool.
beautiful. That's a beautiful way to state it.
I feel like I'm being right now. I'm hanging out with Sue's frog.
You're welcome. Have it. I'm not sure I want to hang out.
It's interesting fear though, isn't it? And because we see fear through our own filter. Like for me, if I am scared of something, I'll run away from it. So when I see Darcy being reactive at things, I would go to an assumption of like she's wanting to get to it. And I was talking to a dog the other day who is sometimes reactive to certain, I can't remember whether it was dogs or people. And I was like, what's the energy you're feeling? And it was a specific situation. And he was saying, go away, go away. And I was like, but if you're, no, sorry, let me get this right. He said he's worried about the thing. And I said, yeah, but then why are you going towards it? And he's like, well, I'm trying to chase it off. And I was like, oh, that's weird. That's not natural for me. I wouldn't do that. And when I shared it with his guardian, she said, that's exactly what I would do. She says, if I'm scared of something, I go towards it. And I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? That's not natural for me. I move away. But I guess some do, don't they? Some do go like that lady, I can't remember, that swims with sharks. I've forgotten her name. Oh goodness, she's Australian anyway, and she's been swimming with great whites, and she's got this real affinity with sharks. Ocean is her name, and she goes to like the sharks will swim up to her, and she moves and kind of pushes them, just like they do with each other, like pushes them out of the way. I just thought it's interesting how we respond to fear in different ways, because it creates that. It's an energy, isn't it? It creates like a frequency in the body, and how that body wants to express it is unique to that being. Yeah. Anyway, I just thought with you with the frogs, like leaping out of the way, whereas someone else might have ran at it.
Boo! Boo! Jump, frog.
Yes.
So, Rachel, while you're saying that, it reminds me of something that I had an experience of quite a few years back when Charlie was in his younger days, and he used to enjoy hunting animals and deers, or chasing. Let's just say, he loved the chase. And one day we were in the forest, and we were all quite pretty relaxed. I'd scattered some food in the forest floor, and the dogs were foraging and just, having a really good time. And I was just enjoying being in the forest. It was all very serene and lovely, etc. And all of a sudden, a deer appeared out of the bushes, and I jumped. And I did. I sort of jumped and had my reflex was to jump and run away from the noise until I realized it was a deer. And the dogs did exactly the opposite. It was like a slow motion moment where I moved, realized, got a fright, and I sort of turned away from the fright. They got the same fright and moved towards it. And in that moment, it was so clear for me, because I'd been sort of, let's say, helping clients. I'd actually done a whole webinar called Channel the Chase, which is like, how to help your dog when they're going through phases where they really chasing animals, etc. And I thought this was a perfect experience for me to recognize how dogs respond differently to a fright, because it was like an alarm that said go, and for me it was an alarm that said run like crazy. It was a completely different response to the very same noise, until we realized, obviously, once they realized what it was, yes, the chase was on and the adrenaline is there and the endorphins are there. But it was that initial quick reaction where we don't think, we just do.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting for me to experience that my reaction is fright, move away, and there's this fright, game on.
I love this so much. I think we've hit on something so deep. I honestly do, because I think we could react different ways to different fears. Like you said, Rachel, I mean, the fear of a frog, you want to move away, but there may be some, like if your child was in danger, that you would absolutely like turn that into running towards. But there's because we have Zori who runs towards it when she's afraid, and we have Django who runs away from it. I tend to be like you, Rachel. I run away. I mean, I just don't like, but I imagine that there's scenarios where I would be afraid and run toward, depending. But I think the thing that really popped into my head is how we can observe what our dog's behavior is doing when they run towards something. Do we confuse that with confidence?
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a really big lesson for all of us in that. Because if we feel our emotion as fear, chances are if they're running towards something, they're also feeling fear.
Yeah.
And if we're angry at something and feeling quite aggressive, then possibly that's what our dogs are feeling too. And some dogs are just zen and confident. I mean, they're just like, dude, it's just a spider. Like what? I mean, they just don't have a reaction. But I think we make assumptions with dogs that when they're going towards something, it's aggression, confidence, reactivity, but it might actually really be fear.
Right.
It's a brilliant topic that I think is just deep.
And here's another aspect of that. It could be fear, and it very often is, as you said. Often it's a desire to control.
Mm-hmm.
It's a desire to control the situation. And whether that is out of fear, I want to control it, I want it to go away, or I want to control it because if I'm in control, I feel more confident about what's going on. I'm unsure, and I don't feel in control. So I need to put myself in that feeling of I'm in control of the situation, and then I feel safe. Just like us humans, we often use control as a mechanism to feel safe. We want to control the situation. We want to control the outcome because it makes us feel safe knowing that we are in control. If we're not in control, we feel unsafe. So they use going forward, as I believe some dogs use going forward as a mechanism of control. They want to control the situation. And I don't mean that as in I'm the boss and I want to be in charge, but it could be that they're feeling, I want to control the situation. I want to make sure that it goes my way.
Right. Because at some point it brings in a level of comfort.
Yes.
Like for them, right? I mean, it's the same for us. It's like we try to control our life so that we know what's going on, because jumping out of our comfort zone is scary. And it's always a little bit risky, but I think, like when a dog tries to control a situation, they want it back to the energy they were connected to.
Yes. Yeah, it's fascinating how they also there's that whole sort of theory that's worth exploring, is that dogs are attracted to the energy of another dog or another person or whatever. They actually want to either attune to it, or it's such a mismatch that they need to, they move towards it because it must be a danger, because it's such a mismatch in energy from what I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling. I mean, there's so much that we don't know. So all the assumptions that we make about it's fear, it's this, it's that, it's the next thing.
Yeah.
There's so much going on that we don't know, right? That we don't really understand.
I think the frameworks are great, until they're not great.
Mm.
The frameworks are
They give us some clues,
useful.
don't they?
They
At
give
least
us
they give us
some
some
clue,
clues.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they can also inhibit and create rigidity. But then you'll always get feedback. So you can work with that framework, but the dog's always going to give honest feedback. So then you have to pivot, or you either continue with that framework or you go, that's not working. I'm going to strip it back. And then you get some relief and you're like, oh. So I think the frameworks are our human way of navigating life, because we kind of like those structures, don't we? We like those plans, goals,
Oh,
yada
yes.
yada yada. We love all of that for whatever reason. But maybe that's why we have dogs, because I don't know that they have frameworks. I feel they don't. I feel, and I think that's why we like
They
their
don't follow the rule book.
don't follow the real book.
No.
No, they really
What's a
don't.
rule book?
Yeah.
I
No. One of my friend's dogs follows lines. So my friend Mel, her dog, if there's a line on the pavement or on a bridge, he will walk on that line. It's so quirky.
love that.
Fascinating. I know.
Our dogs are always bracketing everything. They walk 50 times farther than we do. It's crazy. But I just want to say, so when say a dog's controlling a situation and we're the guardian, what do we then try to do? We try to control our dog controlling the situation, and it becomes laughable at some point. I mean, because yes, there is a safety point of management, but at the same time, it's like we have to recognize that our dog is showing us something about ourselves in that moment. It was hilarious. It's just bringing up a story, and names shall be left off, but I was on a weekend with some of my oldest friends, not oldest as in age, but oldest as in, well, maybe. Some of us became friends when we were 4, and we were together, and it was just, we haven't seen each other in 13 years. So we were together, and the girl's house that we were at had just a week earlier brought home a brand new puppy, flat coat retriever. And I was watching just this entire weekend, this puppy just pee by the front door. Stop being no, you can't, you have to go out. And it was, and then it took a dump right by the back door. And she's distracted with all of us. And then it jumps on the couch and it's looking over the couch. Get off of the couch. And she's trying to control its every movement while she's hosting all of us. And I just sat back and I just watched, because she was trying to control every move that this dog made, but she was trying to have this very controlled life too, eat only these foods and exercise this, and I can't take a break from this routine, and it was just, you could see the rigidity that she put on herself. I mean, it wasn't like she was only doing this to other people, she was putting this on herself, and then her puppy was just mimicking it in the most youthful, playful way. And I just and I could never say anything to her, because she's just not in that space. It would be a bomb, like a nuclear bomb going off, if I were to say something. But you're sitting there and you're just observing it. I had the best time watching this puppy just do all the things that puppies do.
Yeah. And like you said, especially, I mean, that was one of my things is with Charlie, is because he was so unruly, and I was such a control freak that everything he did was just doubly triggering for me, because I couldn't control what he was doing. So yeah, it's they're bound to. That's why our dogs come into our lives. I'm convinced. They trigger the things that exactly what they mirror. They mirror exactly what they give us, the feedback that what's going on, what's real for us. That's for sure.
It definitely shows us
I
about
think,
ourselves.
Yeah, I think control. I would definitely call myself a major control freak. I was absolutely a control freak in my 30s, early 40s. And then my friend Dennis, Dennis Kim, who's written the book The Blame Game, said it's an illusion that we control anything. We co-create everything to learn of who we honestly are. And at the time I was like, bullshit. But that truth has seeped in and seeped in and seeped in over the years. And the kind of the idea that we've got, I see it around me everywhere, people trying to control things because of fears, but it's just, you do just have to go into the woods and go into nature, and the trees aren't trying to control the mushrooms, and the squirrels aren't trying to control the deer. It just is this effortless, messy co-creation of everything supporting life. And I just think that that's the kind of the control is a bit of an illusion that we've been sold. I'm not saying it's bad control. Like, it's not, I'm not saying like you just go and let your dogs off and run around the road. I'm not saying that. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that the idea that we have to control life and control things in our life is very based in the whole, like something's going wrong, I need to control it, as opposed to, okay, maybe we are all creators together to help us learn as we evolve. Doesn't make sense, does it, to control? It's like we're here for a nanosecond of a time. We're here for the smallest amount of time. We are just part of the ecosystem. We are part of everything within the universe, the cosmos. We're connected to everything, and it's unfolding through us. So of course we're creating it. The control thing just doesn't make sense to me anymore. The idea that we have to control it, it just doesn't resonate. There will still be parts of me that have it, absolutely, because at night I get a tight jaw, and sometimes I wake up with my fists are clenched. So I still absolutely have this idea that we have to control things in my subconscious, because we've inherited this philosophy. And I'm touching my back, interestingly, which I heard last week. So it's there in my psyche. But the bigger part of me, the deeper, the soul part of me, knows that we're here to create it. We're here creating everything with everything in life. So I feel like that's the piece that's why we're drawn to animals and to nature, is because we feel such relief around them, because they are so free. They are so buoyant connectors, all of that. And yeah. And I think our bodies, like going back to my body, it's also that our body is giving us that feedback. Like with my back, I twinged my back, twinged. I don't even know what I did. I couldn't even tell you. I bent down to put an ice cube of cottage cheese on Darcy's plate, and my back went, and then I was on the floor. And so I know that my back, as much as I didn't want it consciously to hurt, I knew it was giving me feedback about stuff, whether it was as simple as take a bloody holiday, take some time off. You've been wanting to be pandered to and lay on your back and have food served your whole life. This is the only way it's going to happen. There's so many different things, but I just think even our body's giving us that feedback. And if we're trying to control our body all the time, like control what we're eating, control like going rigidly to the gym and sticking to these programs, like I just got to admit that our body is giving us that feedback all the time. Like with that praying mantis. Yes, I didn't consciously see it with my eyes, but energetically, I'll have picked that up. And for me personally, I'm not saying this is the right way. I just feel life is so much more magical when we get back to that place of our creative being, and that we're learning, so we can evolve, because it makes no sense not to do that. That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I love all of that. And as you're saying it, all I'm picturing is how we're trying to control our addiction to control.
Yeah.
By getting rid of it. I mean, it's like this crazy, like, cycle, isn't it? Like, maybe it's not about not controlling anything. Maybe it's about just having the awareness that we like to be in control. And when things happen as tension against that, we just recognize it and say, oh, okay. Because what happens if, like, we're walking our dog on a leash and they pull, we pull, or we pull
The
and then they
resistance,
pull,
yeah.
right? It's that multi-way tension. And all I can see is this rubber band. Like, when we're trying to control something, we have tension, and then life shows us the opposing tension so that we recognize our control. But it's about it, embodying it and just knowing, because I know people who are so free, they just don't care if they're ever in control. They flow with life like a river going down a stream. It just doesn't, nothing phases them. So what I could say, what's wrong with me that I'm just so tight and controlling, and there's nothing wrong with you, because the truth is that sometimes that's what leaders do, is they control. It's about embodying it and realizing that things aren't always going to go our way. But I don't necessarily know if it's about, like, getting rid of it.
No.
It's not about fixing it. Nothing is wrong. It's about just, like, learning about ourselves. I think it's such a great way to learn about ourselves.
Yeah, for
And
me, it's recognizing that control. It's recognizing that when exactly that. It's recognizing that when I'm trying to control something, the resistance, the energy in it feels very uncomfortable versus the flow. So it's like you have to experience the opposite of that
Right.
to recognize where it's, where for me, that the energy, the amount of energy and the amount of resistance that goes into that, trying to control everything all the time, is exhausting.
Yeah.
For me, I recognize it was unsustainable.
And it comes back to balance.
Yeah.
Like, balancing, like, flow with control, and, like, that it's okay. It's a game. And for all of us, it's going to be different. I think that balance level will be different. It's just like, you can't spend your whole life in a deep conversation. Sometimes you need the superficial shit, right? Because it balances you out. I mean, talk to me about farts, I'll laugh all day. But I also love to talk about control and the depth of stuff. But there's a balance of, and that's what this life is, right? We're learning our own, like, concoction to thrive.
Yeah.
That
And
curiosity and the experience of it all, isn't there? Versus,
yeah,
this is wrong, this is bad. This is like, wow, this is like so cool because I can see this side and I can see that side and I can see what this brings and I can experience it that way. Yeah. I was reminded in a conversation recently happened. It started off with end of life. We were talking about, the imminence of our dogs. We know that they're going to go, and there's something in it. I'm not speaking for everybody, but for a lot of us, we want our dogs to experience a natural death. We want them to experience a peaceful, natural death, i.e., you just get old and one day you go to sleep and you don't wake up, kind of thing. And it's a notion. It is a notion that we all want to entertain, don't we? I mean, we wish for ourselves that that's how we go. We wish for our friends and family that that's how they go, and we wish for our dogs as well, that we want this sort of fairy tale ending to the story, that it's peaceful and all wonderful. And in some circumstances it does happen, but in many circumstances it doesn't happen. And then all the guilt and the fear and the blah, blah, blah come with that, because it wasn't this, I'm going to call it a fairy tale ending. But it also reminded me when we were talking about this, that it was the same with my birth of my children. I was convinced that I was going to have this beautiful, I wasn't going to have any painkillers. I had done all my breathing for months and months. I was going to breathe in there. pant and puff a few times and pop out my baby in the water. And it was all going to be like, so, hallelujah. What is that? Kumbaya, clap hands. She gave natural birth to these. And I was convinced that's what it was going to, and I had prepared everything, and that's what it was going to be. And I ended up having 2 emergency cesareans with each of the births. So it was everything but what I wanted and what I had expected. And again, for some time, it felt like, oh, I didn't get that fairy tale, sort of birthing process. It was very traumatic. In fact, it was actually the opposite. And when I look back now and I see that part of that birthing process was also had to do with the development of my kids' nervous systems at that time, and they both developed nervous system sensitivities. And I could look at it, all that patterning, but I could also see how brilliantly it's been part of my life that has led me to so many different things in my life, where I channeled my energy, my career. All of that came from what I thought were less than optimal experiences for myself and my kids have actually been part of our life's journey. And I can see that so obviously now in hindsight. Of course, it's a different thing. But it just brought to me, reminded me of how I was convinced I was going to have this beautifully perfect, I'm going to see my babies into the world in this gentle way, into water, and it's going to be such a loving moment, and it was anything but.
Is it that phrase, God laughs at a plan or something?
Yeah. Man plans,
so you got
God
a plan. Let's see about that.
I love that analogy of the birth and death, because I've heard that before, either from an animal or from a person. And my girl Sophie, her death in my mind wasn't this peaceful, she just, because she was euthanized back when, and we had the vet come round, but it looked like she was fighting the injection. So I was like beating myself up for about 7 or 8 years, and until I started to listen differently, and that analogy came through from somewhere. And I think it's this attachment, it's fairy tale, like you say, or attachment to this brings it back. We were talking about fairy tales at the beginning, I think. It brings it back to this attachment to an ideology, but that's someone else's ideology. We're all having our own experience of life, and I love that. So that's such a great. So when you were talking about, this is such a taboo subject, we talk about death now, but it isn't. It's death, and we all have our. But when you were saying we all just want to fall asleep, and I was like, I don't know if I want to. I think I want to take some like wild drug, and at the end, I don't know if I want to just like drop off and then snooze in my bed. I feel like, I don't know, I want to be in a time machine somewhere or something. Whereas for someone else, that'd be an absolute nightmare.
I remember when recently in May, when it was time for Layla to go, and she was euthanized at the time. And I remember it was a decision that we all made, and it felt very right in the moment. And Layla did go very peacefully. In fact, she was listening to her heart, and she said, with the first injection, they normally give them a sort of a sedative to slow their heart. And she already said then, she'd already, her heart had already moved on, basically. And I remember thinking to myself, what if, what if this, I reached over to the vet, and I put my hand on her hand. She had the injection, and I just said, I just want to thank you for making this such a beautiful, peaceful experience for us as we're sitting here. And I said, this must be very hard for you. And she said, no, it's not. And I'm like, what? And she said, I feel grateful that we are allowed to help our dogs transition, because some people would desperately love to transition and they can't because they have to be
Yeah.
kept alive. And
Yeah.
that was the first time I'd heard somebody speak about it like that. And I was like, you're right. I mean, we think it's like something we, have to do and it's a bad thing or whatever, but it is, for many people, it's a gift that they're able to transition peacefully like that with assistance versus having to go through, like you said, it can be a very scary time for people. It can be really, people realize what's happening and they don't want to let go, and it can be a really scary experience.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was just interesting. It was just reminded me of that experience that she said, no, it's actually for me, I feel it's a gift that we are allowed to support our animals through this time, versus humans who sometimes don't have that option.
No.
Yeah.
And we don't. Sorry, go on, Kim.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know that animals have religion.
No.
And I think that a lot of that comes from religion, doesn't it? That ending your life, if you haven't gone naturally, it's a sin. And it comes with a huge amount of shame. And, whether you go and pay someone to do it or you do it yourself, comes with a lot of shame and blame. Like, what about the other people left behind? That sort of thing. I don't know that animals have that. And do animals commit suicide? I'm sure there are stories of
There
animals.
are stories like things of, like the lemmings jumping off things and animals, uh, whales beaching and all that kind of thing. I
Yeah,
mean, that's still a mystery. They don't really know. Is it suicide? Is it, what is it? What drives them to actually do that?
yeah. Mysteries.
Mysteries that we don't know. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for me, this is because we're all communicators. I mean, whether we call ourselves with the label, every single person, creature, being is a communicator. Telepathically, intuitively, whether we have an awareness of it, whether we care. It's just whether we care to have that awareness. But I think when it comes to it, for me, my opinion is that whenever we make the choice to euthanize, it's not just a choice we're making for our dogs. It's a choice we're co-creating with our dogs. And it's a mutual choice. And I think for me, what I would love more than anything would be to eliminate the person's guilt for making that choice. We have
Yeah.
had one dog went out for a pee and like fell over, his heart stopped. Zam was a natural transition over a couple of weeks, and it was beautiful. And then we've helped others who have just, it's time and you just know it.
You
And
just know. Yeah.
I think that guilt is where we can do the work in between. But I just believe that these decisions are not something, we are not making decisions to like end our dog's life. It just isn't the case. They're telling us they're ready, and we're sensing that. It goes back to your praying mantis story, right? You were not consciously aware that mantis was there, but you communicated with it.
Yeah.
Like unknowingly, and then you happen to get the evidence later that it was there. And that's the thing, like these connections are so pure and so easy that we're constantly communicating with everything around us, and we just, for whatever reason, we're incapable of like realizing it in some cases, and we're just stubborn to it. It's called skeptic, like you're called crazy if like you think people read palms or psychics and some of the things, right? Like we have just been taught a belief system and a construct that it's not possible. And I think for me, I see the beauty of it, and I just would love for people to realize that they are not choosing it for their animal, that it is co-created.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have conversations with people that come to that, they've got that guilt, or they ask questions like, was it too soon? And I say to them, did you used to get a sense of you knew what they wanted to eat, or when they wanted to go for a walk, or they wanted a different sort of bed, or you're going to change your fruit? And they'd be like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, how is this any different? Why have you suddenly not been able to? You didn't ever question any of that. You just knew. So this is the same thing. It just feels bigger because it's feels final because it's a massive transition. The physical body isn't there anymore as far as we're aware. So it I think it's that recognizing that we if you have an animal in your life, you know you're communicating with him. You absolutely do know that. And it's just when it comes to the stuff that is upsetting for us, that's when we almost go we get consumed with our second guessing, and it comes back to just being present and witnessing and going with that. Yeah, the guilt, the shame thing again, it's like religion. It's, as far as I'm aware, it's a human construct. It's lots of
Well,
human
again, it's
constructs.
for me, it comes back to that that we've talked about this before, this over responsibility. We feel responsible even up to the end that we should give our dog the best death. I mean, if I can say it like that, but that's really what it is. And if we don't give them the perfect fairy tale passing or allow that to happen or support that happening, then we turn the self and it's my fault. I should have done more. I should have done things differently, or I could have done more, or blah, 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 blah. And it's not, like you said, it's a co-created, it's their reality and their soul having their experience. And we can't control the outcome. We can't control that of what that's going to look like and how it's going to be.
And what if, like, when the blessing for them too, like that we have hands, we have access to, we have telephones, we have all of the access to the, we think dogs are awesome, but they think we're awesome too, because we have all of these skills that they don't have and that they benefit from. Like, I was talking to a dog just before the call, and he calls her mum the fridge police, because she's like, because we do all these things that they can't do. And end of life, euthanasia, and whatever that is, physically carrying them or driving them somewhere, but they are all things we're helping them with, even though it may look like a struggle for them in the moment. They are also having a rich experience with a different species.
Yeah.
And we forget that bit. We forget that bit because we're so hard on ourselves as human beings. We literally, when you were saying that, Sue, I could just see someone physically, like, if it, you know how we get upset if someone is harmful to an animal. Well, I bet that person that is witnessing that a lot is equally harmful to themselves in their thoughts. Their constant self-flagellation, is that the right word?
Yeah.
And that is energy, if you're constantly beating yourself up or calling yourself stupid or you idiot or what did you do that for, or I'll never do that again. That's just, how does your heart feel that? Like, how does your soul feel that when you're beating it up all the time? And I just think that's another thing that we just think we've done wrong. And maybe we haven't. Like Kim says, maybe they helped us to just, yeah.
Yeah, the it's my fault thing, I think that's just so we're also, it's a product of what we consume. And the end of life is such a big topic with animals these days. And the truth is we don't have control over whether they live
we don't.
20 years, 25 years, 10 years.
We don't know when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. We don't know for ourselves. We don't know for another person. We don't know for our dogs. We don't.
And I just so much believe, what if we look at it as they're asking us for help for exactly what you just said, Rachel, because we have a certain set of skills that we can help them with, and that it is just this mutual relationship. They give us so much but we also give them so much. And I think that, like, we can't choose longevity. We can't choose whether to, I mean, feed this natural diet. Well, some dogs thrive on kibble. I mean, I've seen dogs not able to eat like natural foods as much, and it sometimes doesn't make sense, but it doesn't have to. We know that we're going into it doing the best job that we can. We know that we love these dogs in the best way possible, and you absolutely know that we feel the reciprocation of that love.
Yes. Amen, sister.
Beautifully said. Yeah, Kim, you're right.
Do you have oils with you today, ladies?
Of course.
I have lemongrass.
Ooh. One of my favorites.
Yes, mine too.
Mm.
Only because we've got so many insects.
And frogs.
And frogs.
Frogs.
Frogs are scared of lemongrass, I'm sure.
Man, I have bergamot.
Well, that's one of my faves.
That's delightful.
So nice. What
So
you got,
good.
Rachel?
I have two. One is sage.
Ooh.
For the left nostril. And for the right nostril, carrot seed.
Wow.
Oh.
They really go well together. They complement each other. Spicy.
You're a fine oil, carrot seed. Well, same to you, Sage. Oh, man. I think we've brought our fairy tale full circle this week.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. Thanks, ladies.
Any last words that you'd like to share?
Stay curious, let go of the control, and just see what happens. See what happens. Again, a lot of people think letting go, you mentioned it earlier, let it go means just like sitting back and doing nothing. That's not the case. You still get to choose. You still get, to co-create. That's what we're here for. But instead of the resistance, when you feel the resistance coming up, like I need to control that, I need this outcome, I need to have this fairy tale, whatever I have, just remind yourself that the resistance in that is that, it is part of the experience, but is it causing you a lot more discomfort than you need to?
Yeah. And go and write your own fairy tale.
Yeah, why not?
Your own story. I mean, it's already unfolding anyway, isn't it? So just write your own story, I think.
Yeah, live your own fairy tale. And just try stuff. I mean, try stuff and find what feels good for you. When you're walking your dog, like, does it feel good for you, or are you trying to like follow some protocol? Because you'll know when it feels good for you, and your dog's it'll feel good for them. And I just think, like, do what feels good.
Yes.
Agreed.
Awesome
sauce, ladies. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time again.
Yes. And like, subscribe, share, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.